Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jennifer Sullivan, and I am the Principal Advisor of J. Sullivan Advisors. Thank you for joining us for our 14th Brain Break. Today, we are featuring Laura Putnam, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. Our hope with these 30 minutes is that you can just slow down a little bit. We'd love to have you stop taking care of other people or other things, sit back in your chair, and just relax for a little bit. By your nature, you are givers, and we're asking you to turn that off for a little bit and just let us give back to you a little bit of a break and some positivity. So I hope you enjoy this next couple of half hour. We have, as I said, Laura Putnam on deck today. She's a phenomenal speaker, coach, author, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. But first, let me tell you a little bit about J. Sullivan Advisors. We are a boutique meeting planning and hospitality consultancy. Under our meeting planning umbrella, we do full event meeting management. So we can help you with everything from site selection, contract negotiation, full event planning, execution, or just on-site staffing. We can do the entire program or just pieces of it if you are in need of supplementing your existing staff. For our small business owners and our hospitality partners, we do offer task force assistance. We can come into your hotel team and help with sales, marketing, revenue management, conference service staffing. I know staffing is a huge issue right now, and we can help fill the gaps until you find your permanent team. And we can also offer some customer service training for our small business owners. So I think the thing that makes us different than other planning companies and boutiques is that we are, like independent planners, very high touch and low overhead, but we're a team. So we work together collaboratively as a 7-woman team. There's always someone backing up our lead planners, giving you the peace of mind that there's always someone available if your lead planner was to get sick or be out of pocket for whatever reason. The other thing that makes us special is the dynamic makeup of our team. And I'll share a picture with you because some of these faces may look familiar. Actually, no, I won't, not today, but we have a mix of very seasoned and savvy meeting planners with Jana Stern, who was with Voya, Sharon Chapman, who was with Guardian Insurance, Tonine McGarvey, who was with BMW Mini, and then we have luxury hoteliers like Kelly Wood, Michelle Babin, Joanne Peart, and myself, all coming from the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. So together we are strategists, we are relationship builders, and we are magic makers. We are very passionate about travel. We're passionate about building loyalty through events, and we're passionate about taking care of others. So we would certainly love to put all of these passions to work for you. And I will be in touch in the next couple of days by email to send you some information about me and Laura so that we can stay in touch. But now it is my pleasure to ask Laura to turn on her camera and join us. Laura and I were connected through a mutual friend, Diane Goodman, who is known prominently in the meeting planning community as a speaker management consultant. And she connected Laura and I. Both Diane and I look at September as kind of a new year where you can hit a reset button. Kids are back in school, routines are back in play. You can take on a new initiative and merely make an impact on it before the end of the new year. And when I said all that, Diane's like, yes, we need Laura to come in and speak with us. So Laura is the CEO of a company called Motion Infusion, where they're bringing wellness and human performance management all together and talking about how to make us more efficient as individuals as well as teams more efficient. And we just are so excited to have Laura with us today. She has invited us to use this time as a conversation, which I love. Many of you put into your registration, how you're feeling or what your biggest challenge is right now coming back after COVID. So if anything in Laura's presentation prompts one of those thoughts, feel free to throw it in the chat button. And as I said, let's make this a conversation. Laura invites that. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Laura. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay.
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everybody. Thanks so much for taking 30 minutes to spend some time together. And I just want to make sure also, Jennifer, that you can see my slides here. We're
I
all set
can.
here.
Yes, they're all
Okay,
perfect.
super. So just as Jennifer said, I do encourage comments, questions along the way. I really see this as more of a conversation than as a presentation. So Maya Angelou once said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to fully thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." So, as a well-being professional, as CEO and founder of Motion Infusion, which is a well-being provider based in San Francisco that has worked with organizations around the world, including large Fortune 100 companies like Wells Fargo and Apple, a lot of insurance providers like a number of the Blues, in particular, doing a lot of work with Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota, worked extensively with a lot of government entities as well as schools and higher education, as well as with hotels. For example, we've worked with Kimpton Hotels. So just a broad range of industries. And I'm also the author of Workplace Wellness That Works, which is 10 steps to infuse well-being and vitality into any organization. So it's really about how do we take what's a really good idea, which is to leverage every workplace to promote better health and well-being, and how do we do it just a little bit better? So this whole idea of what does well-being even mean is something that I have considered for a long time in my role as a well-being professional. And over time, what I have arrived upon is that well-being defined is most simply stated as me at my best. So for Maya Angelou, me at my best is about compassion and passion and humor and style. And if I think about this for myself, me at my best is when I'm channeling my inner gymnast. I was a competitive gymnast when I was growing up. And when I went to Stanford, I was part of the women's gymnastics team there. And so when I'm doing something like a handstand in front of Golden Gate Bridge, which is very close to where I live, this is a manifestation of me at my best. Or me at my best is when I'm overcoming my fear of waves and I'm surfing. Me at my best is when I'm speaking at events like this. Me at my best is when I'm meeting new people. Or me at my best is when I'm with those people who I love or have loved the most. Me at my best. So I'm sure you're probably thinking right now about what me at my best looks like for you. And it might be when you're with your family, or it might be when you're with your best friend, or it might be when you're doing great work, or when you are achieving your dreams. So, what I would like for you to do right now is I would like for you to take a moment to consider, what does me at my best look like for you? And I would love it if you would actually write in the chat. And Jennifer, I'm going to lean into you a little bit here to help me out here and sharing with me some of the comments that come in around what does me at my best look like for you? And just a couple of words is fine. And if anybody is brave enough to want to unmute themselves and share it, you can do that as well. So Jennifer, while people are writing that in, I would love it for you to share with me in a couple of words. What does me at my best look like for you?
Yeah, so we do have some coming in, but what a great question. Me at my best is when I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit.
Love that.
We have playing with my grandchildren,
Mm.
crossing everything off my to-do list.
Oh, I love that one. That's great.
Walking my dog anytime, anywhere. Being focused and executing on the right things.
Nice. Awesome. So I would love for you to hold on to that, and feel free to continue writing in the chat anything that comes to mind as we continue through this about what me at my best looks like. And it looks like we may have had a couple more that have come in. Jennifer, you can go ahead and read those and then I'll continue on.
Yeah, we sure do. And I love these. Spending time with my family, when I work out at the gym, when I'm writing,
Nice.
Feeling confident and comfortable in my own skin.
That is a good one. There's actually, I lived in France, I studied in France, and there's a French expression, bien dans sa peau, which is comfortable in one's own skin. And I would totally agree with that. Those moments when you feel so comfortable in your own skin is also for me when I'm experiencing me at my best. So I might steal that for one of my future presentations. So if you think about it truly, what matters more than each of us becoming our version of me at my best? And that's all we're going to be talking about today, really, is like, what can each of us do to more easily become our version of me at my best and to become that more often? And I'm going to offer 3 suggestions to you. The first one is to actually know what it takes to thrive. And this is based on the research. And while, of course, this is different from one person to another, as we've just heard, there's also some science that really has unpacked what are those key things, kind of those universal themes that emerge when we start to dig into what it actually takes to thrive. So to start us off on this conversation, what I would like for you to consider right now is, imagine if you were a battery. Where would you say that you are right now? And so we can again use the chat function here. And Jennifer, I'm going to lean into you again, but where would you say that you are on this spectrum right now? Are you kind of way over on the left-hand side feeling like your batteries are totally depleted? Are you way over on the right-hand side feeling really charged up and fulfilled? Or are you somewhere in between?
Far left. I have a newborn at home. Amen.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
just in looking at the comments that people put in when they were registering, I think people are closer to the left right now. We went from this high of thinking we were coming out of the pandemic to backsliding. Somebody else here that says 2 bars. A lot of the comments were that, I live in constant worry about what's to come. There's so much unknown and inconsistency. Yeah. And then we have other people who are more balanced in between. No balance right now. It's frustrating. And then someone who's just back from vacation, so saying far right.
Yeah, awesome. So what I'd like for you to kind of keeping this metaphor in mind of this idea of this battery, really, you all have identified what me at my best looks like for you. I'd like for you to start thinking, what are those things that recharge your batteries? And what are those things that deplete your batteries? And in other words, what are those things that really enable you to thrive? So there's been a lot of research around this, but the study that I often refer to is a survey that was actually conducted in over 150 countries around the world. This was a Gallup Healthways survey. And they kind of divided people into 3 different groups. So the group that is just struggling, and then the group that's surviving, they're not struggling, but they're also not thriving. And then the group that's thriving. And what they found is that there were really 6 main elements that emerge. So physical, emotional, social, financial, career, and community. So I'm going to just very briefly unpack each of these 6 areas for you and talk a little bit about kind of these universal themes. And I would like for you to, at the same time, relate this to yourself and think about, in each of these dimensions, kind of where are you? Are you really thriving physically, but perhaps you're struggling financially? Are you doing really well on an emotional, or say on a career level, but maybe having a harder time on an emotional level? So just kind of consider that as we go through this and think about those things that help you to improve your well-being in each of these 6 domains, and then compare that with the research that's out there. So let's start first with physical. So physical, we might say, is our fuel. It's the basics. It's the things like getting enough rest. So the person who wrote in that they've got a newborn, I'm guessing that you're pretty short on your sleep right now. And so your fuel is running low right now. But it's all the basic stuff that we all know: getting enough rest, eating well, getting enough exercise, hydrating enough. And so one of the things that I think about a lot is, this is actually the research emerging from the blue zone. So these are parts of the world in which a large percentage of people are not only living, but thriving into their hundreds. And so Joanne, I know you're in Costa Rica. You're actually very close to a blue zone. There's a blue zone in Costa Rica. But one of the things, one of the key elements for these blue zones is that people engage in not so much exercise, but natural movement. So there's a lot of motion infusion, which is the name of my company, kind of in their everyday lives. So what I really encourage people to do is to think less about exercise and more about simply infusing motion into everything that you do. So I'm standing right now. I know Jennifer is standing right now. It's a small way to infuse a little bit of motion. And one thing that you can do is to start to infuse motion into your meetings, even if you're virtually connected. So why not convert your next Zoom meeting into a walking meeting, for example? So now emotional well-being. This is really, we might define this as resilience. So this has definitely been an area where we've really been hard hit during the pandemic. So a study came out in June of 2021 showing, or rather 2020, showing that rates of depression across the United States have tripled since the onset of the pandemic. And I'm guessing that that has probably stayed pretty consistent since then. So what can you do? Given that, I mean, we don't have control over what's happening with the pandemic and the fact that we're kind of diving back into it. But one thing that we can do for ourselves is that we can start the practice of noticing what's good. So here's an exercise that you can try, which is to name 3 good things daily. So you might try this at the end of the day, simply name 3 good things that have happened to you that day. And if you do that, studies show, that will literally rewire your brain to be more optimistic. That'll help to kind of build your muscle to see the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. And this really is a skill that we can develop. And apparently the magic number seems to be 6 weeks. So do this every day for 6 weeks straight. And studies show that this will help you to be just a little bit more optimistic. Social. So social is really about love and connection, and lots of studies showing that this may be the most important aspect of overall well-being, and certainly that has been hit so hard when we've been having to separate so much. So what can we do? This is very closely related to this practice of noticing what's good, which is to practice something known as positivity resonance. And this is based on the research of Barbara Fredrickson, who's based in University of North Carolina. And this is the idea of practicing positivity in the context of others. And so while it's good to practice positivity by ourselves, it's even better to practice positivity in the context of others. So one simple exercise that we can do is just to start to notice the social interactions that we do have over the course of the day. And also to try finding your best friend at work. Some really interesting research around this showing that this is one of the best things that you can do to boost your engagement with your work is actually to find your best friend at work. So I don't know if any of you have a best friend at work. This is my best friend at work. This is Crockett Dale, who is the CEO of a company called HealthStat that we've done a lot of work with. And Jennifer, I'm going to just put you on the spot here, and as well as everybody else. Do you have a best friend at work? If so, who is that? And for the rest of you on the call, do you have a best friend at work? Who is it?
Oh my gosh, what a great lead-in question. I have the privilege of picking my best friends and forming a company with them. I mean,
Awesome.
all the women I work with are people that I either were my clients or that my coworkers that they earned my respect. And so I formed a company with them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work with managers, and I think a lot of times managers feel, they want to have these high performing teams. And one of the things that I tell them is that if you want to have a high performing team, just like the way you have built this really high performing team, Jennifer, foster not only friendships, but best friendships within your team. And longstanding Gallup research shows that if you have those kind of friendships at work, those best friendships at work, that you are 7 times more likely to be highly engaged in your work. So every manager needs to be thinking about, if they want to have a high performing team, foster friendships. So,
or what's the best way to do that now that everyone's so virtual?
yeah. I think one thing that every manager in particular can be thinking about, but certainly any team member can be thinking about as well, is starting to introduce some rituals into uh, pre-existing kinds of activities, like your next team meeting. Why not start it off with everybody sharing 3 good things that have happened to them? And they could even just do it in the chat. And in fact, we can practice that right now. Would everybody just write in, what's one good thing that's happened to you today? And Jennifer, give us one good thing that's happened to you today, to help everybody else get warmed up here on one good thing that's happened for them.
Oh my goodness. I've sent.
And I'm going to help you out. How about that?
Okay.
One good thing that's happened to me today, I made a really delicious cup of coffee for myself. And with that cup of coffee, I stepped out of my door this morning and walked around the lagoon in the nearby park. That's one good thing that's happened to me today. So one good thing, Jennifer, and then let's hear some of the things that have come in.
I went on a long walk with a girlfriend this morning that's how I started my day, before anyone else was awake.
Nice.
So we
What
have
are some of the other things that come in?
Carolyn is saying she's on this call, which is great. Love that we had 45 people prioritize themselves and take these 30 minutes. Shelly says she lives in Houston and they had no damage from Nicholas. Yay. Eleanor said she went on a long walk with her pup. I know she's a pup mom. Patty, my scroll is going crazy. Patty, I'll come back to you because you just scrolled out. Robin was up early enough to see the sunrise and finish her book. Let's see. Doris said there were no bills in today's mail. Joanne said an early walk with my daughter and her puppy. Patty said she got a great night's rest to tackle this day. And Carlin said she cleaned up the yard after the hurricane came through.
Nice. I just want to remind everybody, we as human beings, we're actually hardwired to notice the negative things in life. And this is actually how we survive. Snake, and we react. And so we really notice the negative things. And whereas so negative emotions tend to be very, very strong and very noticeable, whereas positive emotions and positive experiences often are more subtle. And so if we don't take the time to consciously, deliberately call those out, it's very easy for us to lose track of those little good things that happen to us all the time. And so interestingly enough, Bronnie Ware, who is a hospice nurse who spent 15 years working with dying patients, and she heard the same dying regrets over and over and over again. And one of those top dying regrets was, and get ready for this, I wish I had let myself be happier. Not I wish I had been happier, but I wish I had let myself be happier. So just a simple practice like this, and for better effect, doing it with other people, you can do it with your team, you can do it virtually, just as we just did, can make a big difference in helping you in a small but consistent way to get a little bit closer to being your best self. So let's talk about financial well-being. Financial well-being is really resource management, and a question that I often ask people: can money buy you happiness? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. The guess from Jennifer is no. How about from the rest of you?
It helps.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So the answer is you're both right.
Yeah.
So what the research shows is that actually money can buy you happiness to a certain extent. If you don't have enough money for shelter, for food, for basic survival, it's hard to be happy. Beyond that, though, happiness tends to kind of plateau. And so then it really becomes a matter of how we spend our money and spending it in a way to boost more happiness. So research shows that if you spend money on other people over yourself, you're more likely to experience a greater sense of well-being. Research also shows that if you practice investing in experiences, something that you all do, creating experiences worth talking about, and I stole this from the J. Sullivan Advisors website here, that this will boost your well-being more so than spending it on things. So one of the things that you can do is to start creating experiences for yourself. I know you do this a lot for others, but what's an experience that you can create for yourself? So I just came back from Maine, annual reset there, followed by Martha's Vineyard with my family. This is an experience that I invested in that will continue to live with me. All right, career well-being. Those people who are thriving in their careers are actually 50% more likely to be thriving overall. This is what we might say what you do. So when you wake up early in the morning, wake up to start getting ready for work, whether it's virtually or in person, if somebody were to ask you, are you excited about it? Can you give them an enthusiastic yes? Research shows that only about 20% of people are able to give an enthusiastic yes. Another way of recasting this, would you say that the work that you do is a job, is it a career, or is it your calling? What makes the difference between it feeling like a job, a career, or calling? One of the things is, and this is channeling Martha Graham, and you might be able to hear the music a little bit here, but she said, if I could say it, I wouldn't have to dance it. So this is one of her greatest strengths, was the fact that she was so expressive through her movement. Peter Drucker, he talked about this idea of building on your strengths and making your weaknesses irrelevant. So if you want to boost your career well-being, channel your inner Martha Graham and practice your superpowers. Her superpower was movement. What is your superpower? The more you know what it is, and the more you practice it every day, the more likely you are to have a higher level of career well-being. And so then last but not least, community well-being. This is where you live and what you give. There's so much research here showing that those people who are giving back, like my mom here, this is my mom here, who has been awarded Woman of the Year in her community. When you practice being the change, yes, it's good for your community, but research shows that those people who are giving back more likely to live longer, more likely to experience greater life satisfaction, even less likely to have a heart attack, all good things that happen to the giver. So practice being the change. So one of the things that I think about doing is to do my daily errands differently, thinking about daily errands as an opportunity to connect with others. So I know we've got about 2 minutes left, and this time has gone by much more quickly than you think that it does. But I want to just leave you with 2 final thoughts, which is, in addition to knowing what it takes to not only survive, but to thrive, to also let what you know drive what you do. So start to think about, what are those things around me that are either pushing me toward better health and well-being, and what are those things that are pushing me away from it? So the more that I can place myself in environments and cultures that help me to become my better self, the easier it is for me to be my best self. And conversely, the more that I really think about being the change, modeling well-being, starting with myself, the more I give permission to others to do the same. So it goes both ways. So with that, I want to just turn it over to you, Jennifer. I've got a couple of resources that I can share with you all. But I just want to say thank you all so much for being part of this discussion. One quick resource for you here is Me at My Best Guide. If you would like a copy of that, all you need to do is text MOTION to 66866. And if you are a manager, I've got a new course that just published on LinkedIn Learning called Managers as Multipliers of Wellbeing. And this also includes, I've got a resource specifically for managers called the Manager's Guide to Creating an Oasis of Wellbeing. And if you'd like that resource, you can text OASIS to 66866, and you'll be getting all this from Jennifer. So Jennifer, over to you. Thank you so much for having me be with all of you all today.
Yep, I'm energized. Thank you, Laura. So you mentioned the six things. What were the six things again? Like the physical, emotional, social. They were all parts of wellness or areas.
So those are all different aspects of becoming our best selves. So in order for us to not only live long lives, but happy, well-lived lives, we need to be thinking about what can I do for my physical wellness? What can I do for my emotional wellness? What can I be doing for my social well-being? How about my career well-being, my financial well-being, and then of course, my community well-being.
Great. Okay. And you had mentioned your class for managers, and you were explaining that you actually speak frequently, and that's where Diane can come in and help manage your schedule and everything. But you speak to 3 different types of audiences. The first one you kind of called anyone and everyone like us, talking specifically about what can we do for ourselves. But then you also speak to 2 different types of groups, the influencers or the managers, and talk about how they really are influencers of their employees and their wellness. Again, the workplace is kind of your niche. And then the activators, those within the company who are wellness champions or HR directors, who wellness falls within their responsibilities. So you've got customized presentations that you can give to all 3 of those audiences, which I think is just phenomenal. And then of course your book, The Workplace Wellness That Works. I'm sure there's something that all 3 of those audiences can glean out of that. So we definitely will include all of the resources you've offered in my follow-up email. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who joined the call.
We've got a lot of great feedback here. Lovely, great reminders, fun and informative, good tips on small things to help elevate, and just plenty of thanks. So I pass that all along to you. Thank you so much, Laura, for being with us.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, Joanne, for coming in as well. All
right.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.